kind of there, but they can't hear us and we can't hear them. And I know our IT person is trying to figure out what's going on and working on it. So I guess you'll get real-time updates when people will have access.
Yep. Well,
All right, so like I sent out in my kind of thing, I sent out the warrants a little different than we've done it, the agenda a little different from the past, because we have to be very as specific as we can be. So I got the items under the line item budget that I thought were kind of very easily explainable, not a lot of things, because as some people have pointed out, well, we haven't heard what the Board of Selectmen or the town administrator has to say, but we'll hear that next Tuesday, because some prompting was needed in order to get this process rolling. And part of the prompting was scheduling meetings. And so things are, we'll hear more from them neither. So my idea is just try to get as much stuff as we can, because there are some things in the warrant articles that we'll need to hear about and adjust. And like I said, we'll start with the line item budget stuff. We'll deal it just sort of like the town meeting. I'll make a motion for the total amount of the budget. If anyone has any questions in that particular budget item, just yell out hold like they do at the town meeting. We'll hold it and we'll go back and get questions answered. So
just so we're clear, you basically want to just run through each one of these to see if people have concerns or want to talk about them. When we get to the end, you're looking for a single motion that then lists each department and a total dollar amount at the bottom. As
right,
part of
for
that
everything
motion.
that doesn't have a hold. That one.
We can address the hold items and clean those up before we vote on it.
Right, I would hold the whole department. So if you have a question on the finance committee, when I read finance committee, whatever the number is, hold, and then we'll just go.
Kevin, which color tab are you working from?
I am working from the blue colored tab, because I always do the one that's called FinCom Handbook, because that's how I listed these out just as we go. In prior years, I just go through page by page by page.
Fine,
That
okay.
doesn't, now we have to be a little more clear into what we're doing. Oh, I can see someone's doing something. Okay, so I've got Board of Selectmen for $3,600. Town Administrator at $331,012.
All right, you just want holds? And
Yeah,
we'll talk
just yell
about
and hold,
them?
and we'll
So
go
let's
back and
put a
talk
hold on that one.
Okay, Town Administrator's an H, great. Finance Committee at $7,882. Town Accountant at $123,530. Board of Assessors, $182,509. Finance Director, $379,950. Town Council at $70,000. All right, the next one is Town Clerk at $146,007.
You skipped information.
No, I'm going by just
I'm
what's,
sorry, okay.
what's
I
on
don't have it
this,
In front of me, yeah.
right? Because those people will be coming in later for whatever reason. So what's listed here is
I got
what
you.
we're
I
discussing.
got you.
So that's why I'm kind of going back and forth. So did I do the town clerk already? I'm sorry.
You just brought it, you were doing it.
Oh, $146,007. Elections and registration, $44,980. Say that again? Conservation Commission, $135,643. Now we go to economic development.
Well, let's hold Concom.
Okay, sure thing. H.
that?
We're holding Concom. So that's going to be held out for the time being. Economic development at $38,229.
Let's hold that one.
Sure. Facilities, $163,979. You want to hold that, Mike?
No, I just used a more detailed page, so I gotta
Okay.
catch up to you.
Town Hall, $36,550. Center Office Building at $34,900. Senior Center Building, $26,650. Joshua Hyde Library Building at $23,200. Safety Complex, $95,815. Nursery School at $5,400. 8 Brookfield Road at 0.
Well, I guess I have a general question about all the buildings there, so,
That's what Robin's here to answer when we get to her.
At some point.
So do you want to hold them all? I don't mind. That's fine.
again, yes.
All right, so everything from Town Hall through 8 Brookfield Road? Or do you mind the 0 at 8 Brookfield Road?
Just hold on the list.
Okay, we'll hold it. No big deal. That's what this is about. That's fine.
So let me just say here, my issue, I don't have any issues with it. I'd just like to, at least confirmation, we're just doing normal maintenance, or are any big issues lurking down the road? In a quest to get this done quickly, still like to understand the big picture and other things that are out there. And 8 Brookfield Road, it's a small budget or a 0 budget, so be it, but what's the overall plan? And that's usually what we get at these meetings, so I don't want to rush through that and miss a discussion about, is there an overall plan, what's coming down the road, as part of understanding the bigger picture.
So, once Robin Grimm can get in, she can talk about 8 Brookfield Road, and then Robin from Facilities can discuss the other buildings. Okay?
Okay. So we were up to building inspector, 160, 260.
Fire department?
No,
No,
we're only doing the ones that were on the agenda for this
Oh,
tonight.
sorry.
I think you have a list of all the potential for future agendas. It's in the future one.
Oh, okay.
I tried to lay them all out.
Yeah, did a good job. Thanks.
All right, so I did building inspector, so the next one, sealers of weight and measures, is 13,090. Inspectors, electric and plumbing at 55,778. Tree warden at 39,634. Council on Aging. They show up on the bottom of C10. 169,257. Veteran Services at 79,128. Joshua Hyde Library Operations, 612,629.
Hold.
Okay. Historical Commission, 4,150. Oh, okay. Debt service principal is $1,650,000. Debt service interest, $723,296. Unclassified. Oh, go ahead.
we're gonna have a question on those, good.
All right, we'll hold them. That's fine. Unclassified sits at $5,494,002. That's on page C13. Okay. And then the last one in the line item budget is central purchasing at $470,750.
Let's hold
Sure.
unclassified.
Oh, unclassified, okay, put it in the wrong column. All right, so what I have here is out of the ones that that are listed in the agenda, we're holding Town Administrator, Conservation Commission, Economic Development, everything M through S, so that's Town Hall, Center Office, Senior Center, Joshua Hyde Library Building, Safety Complex, Nursery School, and 8 Brookfield Road. Then we're holding item Z, which is Joshua Hyde Library Operations, actually everything except for central purchasing from that point down.
Is it hold or isn't hold?
All right, then I'll tell you. If you Z, AA, BB, CC, and DD are all held. E had no questions. So then with that, with all the holds, can we just get a
Can I
motion?
make your life easier? I just had a couple of questions. You might, if we go through them, we could just lump them all into a single motion instead of having multiple motions. That's
Sure.
okay.
All right.
We
But
clean up the holds, we can have a single motion at the end that takes.
Oh, you wanna do it that way?
Unless there's some lingering questions for
Okay,
one
then-
department or not.
that's fine. Then let's take up the town administrator then. Let's go back to that hold.
So, my issue there is, last year's budget had a full-time position across the street. We saw in the budget,
We should wait for Robin to get on.
right, so we saw something in here that's going up, part-time.
Yep.
Be nice to get a little feedback on, what the status is, are they really gonna fill that position? And there was a staff position that was elevated here to a supervisory role with increased pay last year because of that position. What's happening with that in this budget as well?
Robin can speak to that, yeah. So, well,
Where
we're
is-
having technical difficulties, I don't know.
She-
She's trying to get in.
Oh, I have the numbers, if you want to hear the numbers that were given to me. I talked to Barbara about this very issue. So the 15-hour position is funded at $18,036.
Bigger issue,
Okay.
it's 18 versus 19 versus
Yeah.
whatever,
But the other position that you said was promoted to a, last year for that reason, is also getting an increase. I think I calculated based on that, it's a 6.4% increase again this year for that position.
Now-
Last year it was about 13%. But the question is Michelle going to supervise that individual, or has she taken on other responsibilities that kind of fall into where you're going with that? Yeah. And I guess we need Robin
So
to answer that question.
there is some of the answers in her message, right? I mean, she talks about the need, why they cut the position, but I agree, she doesn't address that thing about the additional responsibilities that merited an additional increase in pay. She doesn't talk about that at all.
Well, we
I
we-
did
we
hear-
haven't had the initial discussion of, here's the big picture as to what's going on, here are the big issues. We're jumping into department budgets long before we've had that initial session there. So I've read that, but it's also, even if we had that, we usually get a brief little,
Robin
Somebody
did
will
talk
happen.
about that with the Board of Selectmen at one of the meetings, where she said that that position's going to be used this side of the street, probably as much or more than it would be used across the street, especially with the town clerk and some of the other departments. But she can answer that more specifically. But they have been addressing it on the Board of Selectmen meetings.
We can leave
come back
it
to
and
it.
wait for the next meeting, that's not a problem. I don't
if she can
care.
get in there, I'm, again, I'd like to hear it. and I
Who
could
is
probably be
caller
done with
one?
it.
I don't know, but they can't hear us, so it doesn't do you any good to ask.
Could you speak a
we-
little louder?
He's saying, who's caller one? And I said, I don't know, but they can't hear us, so it doesn't do any good to ask.
Let's talk about AI, right?
Just move down the list then.
Keep making phone
All right. Conservation Commission, similar type of thing?
The administrative one, I got a question on just the merit. If we're gonna wait, but we're gonna obviously wait for.
We'll wait till she
Yes,
gets
I'm
here.
not gonna- okay.
And whatever we don't get to, I'll add to next week's agenda. I don't care.
That's
I mean,
fair.
I just want to move things along.
Do you have a question on the part-time positions over there, or the staff person under the conservation budget?
I just wanna have the merit.
So that the merit
Pay-
happens
pay
under the
incentive,
town
pay incentive.
administration.
Yes.
Yeah, so I got a question on why it's 20%.
That's in the town administrator, I thought we wanted to.
I can
Jim
address that.
actually has that
I
answer.
had that conversation with Barbara, and there's been a person added to that pool. The deputy fire chief is now the 8th person into that pool. It
Oh,
was
it's more-
7 or
it's more
whatever
than
it
eight-
was.
It's more than 8 people.
Yeah, but it's increased by at least one position. I
That
thought.
position was not included in the budget last year,
Right.
even though he was eligible for the merit, and so it's skewing the increase just because it wasn't funded through that.
So
through
this
that
line item
budget.
affects is multiple departments, and it's not just the town administrators.
Oh, yeah,
But
it's the,
that's where it is, but I didn't, okay.
right, because she's the one that awards the merit to certain department heads.
So all the department heads are maxed out in their salaries, so they typically get the general wage adjustment, and there's no extra step to go up. So this was a long-standing role for them to earn an additional piece for meeting certain performance objectives for the year.
Ken, as you go through the budget, if you see it first, it only went up 2.75%. Generally speaking, a supervisor that went up to 2.75, being very general there, is in that budget category, aren't they, Barbara?
Right, but it doesn't have anything to do with being maxed out.
Right.
It has to do with when the classification, when the compensation plan was redone, right prior to COVID, There were people that were getting it was a step in grade,
I can't
and then
see
if you were
until guys-
above a certain grade, you didn't get a step, you were part of a merit pool. And that merit pool is funded under the town administrator's budget, because she's the one that awards the merit. So I can tell you which positions it is that are under that merit, if you'd like.
Oh, yeah, that'd be good.
Okay, so it's the town administrator, the police chief, the fire chief, the DPW director, the finance director, the town planner, the library director, the board of health agent, the 2 lieutenants in the police department, and the deputy chief in the fire department.
Quite a few people, huh?
What's that?
Quite a few people.
Yes.
So when you spread the peanut butter, you're not talking about somebody
It's
making
not- yeah, it's
$20,000
not one-
bonus?
It's not one person getting it, no.
Okay, okay.
Well, and they're only eligible up to, is it 2% of their salary?
It's up to 3%.
Oh, all right, 3, but still, so it's not like one person can get 19,000 and the other 9 are getting 1, you know?
And all these incentives are documented as far as performance is concerned, what they have to do, I assume?
I'm sorry.
I guess the performance is documented, how they get to achieve this? You put out more fires or catch
so
more criminals?
We have goals, so it's overall job performance, and then the goals, and then obviously, if other things come up beyond what your goal was, that was something that was unforeseen that had to be addressed, then that's taken into consideration also.
Okay, thank you.
Is that the cavalry coming in?
He said that it was set up correctly on my
That,
end,
yeah.
so that was good.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's going on.
Okay, so that gets us to town administrator, so back down to the Conservation Commission. What's the,
I guess that was me, all right. Just hired so this budget was set up, I don't know how the agent's position was set up in here versus the new hire. I assume we've got,
The new hires, I was able to incorporate the new hire into the budget.
so this budget reflects the new hire's expected salary for next year. We don't have too much.
There'll be no adjustment in July because she's not starting till mid-May. So this salary will go through all of fiscal '25.
Okay. So it's not like we hired, there was a point in 1 year, fill positions, put them at the low end and let them work their way up, but the budget in here reflects what they're gonna get paid starting in July,
Starting May when she starts.
which carries through.
Which
through July.
carries
Yep.
through,
Okay, thank you. I'm all set with that one.
okay, so I will check that one off. All right, economic development, which is page C5, second one from the bottom.
Some of us go to D, that's 14. So again, this is one that comes up every year, you know, I'm trying to figure out, is this role meeting the expectations we all had for what it was? Half of it was supporting tourism, the other half was economic development. So I guess the lingering question is always, from an economic development perspective, are we getting the value from this position? What is this role doing, and does it make sense to continue that role from the economic development perspective?
Yeah,
I was just looking to see if
we'll
Robin
let-
was here.
We'll let Robin handle that question too.
Yeah. All right, so, sorry about that, Mike, didn't answer that one. So now we've moved to the town buildings, except Robin is here, but she can't really help us at all. And that's Robin Kravitz. So I guess we move on to Joshua Hyde Library Operations. That was Laura.
That was Larry.
Yes, that's my hope. Can we confirm that the percentage, I think it's 18% of operation budgets is earmarked for acquisitions, because anything less than the percentage, as I say, I think it's 18, would disqualify the library from receiving financial support in a competitive circumstance from the State Board of Library Commissioners, and that's important money. And all we have to do is have that percentage met. Do you know?
It is, and I work with Becky to make sure that
Okay.
we have the calculation correctly, that we agree on that calculation.
All right.
Yep.
Thank you. I'm not surprised. This is only a confirmation. Thank you.
Anyone else with Joshua Hyde Lab operations? So Larry, I can remove your hold?
Yeah,
yeah.
please, yeah.
Yeah, check, okay. Historical Commission. That is page C12, 102%. Most of that's coming in purchase of services, which I think is back here.
Yeah, I don't mind a little extra for conferences and stuff, but, and it's a small dollar amount. I was curious to what it is, you know, from a consulting perspective they were doing this year. And I know we've got a lot of CPC funds, so, you know, again, I can save $1,000 out of this budget and use CPC to fund something. It might be,
Yeah, this one, in the detail.
$1,000 isn't gonna break the
No,
budget here, but
but it's-
$1,000 we can save here, and at
fair
least
question.
understand what it is they're doing different this year than in the past.
I mean, yeah.
So they're looking to do, so survey work, it says that they're being charged $350 for a survey, and they have plans to do 4 special programs.
Four special programs?
And you're gonna ask me what they are, and I don't know. And then public notices with new programs for next year, we see at least 3 public notices being needed.
Is that because, I gotta stop, we echoing because Town of Sturbridge is in there twice. Just figure out, technical. All right, we'll try and move on with the. Yeah. All right, so we'll keep a hold on Historical Commission, right, 'cause I don't-
Yeah, I'll figure it out. But
So
what
we'll get
are
that.
your specific questions, though?
well, really, what are the 4 events? What are they getting for their consulting? I mean, what conference are they going to? I mean, their conference is up $650. I mean, it's fine, but what is it? You know, I'd wait,
Yeah.
all right, so we'll leave Historical Commission hanging around. So debt service principal. The senior center's coming on, right?
The senior center, so I gotta go back to that one. Is that included in this list, or is that something that needs to come in? How does that come in?
It's included in the list.
Then I looked at it quickly. Hang on, I gotta-
I am
It's on
doing,
page C12 of the detail, I mean, okay.
I will be borrowing $11,450,000 towards this project.
Gotcha, I didn't see it on the list, I looked too quickly.
And so that won't be until mid-May, and then once I have the actual interest rate and what the first year's principal and interest payments will be, then this budget will have to be adjusted slightly, but it'll have no effect on the bottom line because it's a debt exclusion. So it just gets decreased in both areas, and the budget will still be balanced.
So, as far as going out for borrowing, are you picking various points to go out to borrow, or is it just halfway in the end? Okay. Yeah, it is.
It's a lot annoying.
I can't hear half the conversation.
With the echo?
That means you can't hear it twice.
I can't hear it the first time, never mind the second time.
So I'm not borrowing the entire
It's $11 million,
project
right?
yet, right, so there'll still be, the CPA portion, that additional borrowing authorization that we did, that will not be borrowed. My feeling is that I don't like to borrow the entire amount of the project, because then it becomes an issue if we don't spend it all. So I don't know how much of the contingency of the project they're going to fall into and have to use. So I did the same thing when we borrowed for the schools. That was a lot bigger, and I think I did 3 separate borrowings for that one. But at the speed of the project, the 11,450,000 is reasonable for right now. So that's where we are.
So you're gonna borrow 11 million, and this reflects the first year's cost of that.
With an estimated interest payment in there, so that's what I don't know, and that's why the number will change. But I think it's gonna be pretty close to what's in there. Yeah. But always hope for
And I
a
think
better
you
interest rate.
addressed it before. So this was a debt exclusion, right? So when we figure out how much we can raise and appropriate within 2.5, and then add this outside of that to there, that kind of takes place in your little spread, your calculation in the back there that gets to, here's how much we're gonna raise. and
Yeah, it's
appropriate.
actually, if you go to the 5-year forecast tab, and it's gonna be page E4, you'll see how that works. Just let me know when you're there. So you'll see on the left-hand side of that report, you have the 3 debt exclusion projects. So that raises the amount of money that we can raise, and then the amount that we're gonna pay back in debts is in that $42 million figure on the right-hand side under the budget. And so it's just a dollar for dollar offset, yeah.
So it keeps building up in the budget and raise and appropriate piece, but how much we can raise and appropriate is, the base for the 2.5 is lowered, it doesn't include those pieces. Gotcha.
Actually, it's excluded from the 2.5.
It's
completely.
excluded, so we add it to, so we do the levy plus the 2.5% plus new growth. Without the debt exclusions, that's where we would be stopping, yep.
Okay,
I'm okay with those.
all right. So principal and interest holds are removed. Unclassified. There's some big numbers in here, but most of those are things we don't really control.
So the big issue here is health insurance, right? I forget the number, it seemed like a relatively low increase this year on the cost of health insurance, but there was also a significant action taken to increase the amount that the town pays for insurance per employee versus the employees. So that would have an incremental cost in here to the town, right? And this was good year to put it in because we're only up 2.9%, so the town takes on a little bit more but there's still a long-term lingering.
So
The long-term issue, the town's paying a higher percentage, and when rates go up higher in future years, it comes back.
Right, so I can speak to this, and then Robin can add on to it when she's able to get into the meeting, if that happens, or we can just hold it for the next meeting. Last year, Robin was able to negotiate a decrease on the health insurance rates between 10 and 12%. So we saw a decrease last year, which had obviously a positive effect on the budget. Last year, when she negotiated that rate increase, we were capped for a rate increase for this year of 4%. That was part of the negotiation last year. So our rates actually came in at 2.2%. So we're part of the Maya Trust. So we are with a lot of other communities in Massachusetts. And so, you know, they basically look at the experience of, it's not just your experience, it's the experience of the trust. And so the trust has a low to a high, and then what the average increase is. And so 2.2 was actually the lowest rate of trust members. So we did very well there with Robin's negotiations last year. As far as the increase, so last year, the town increased the percentage split to 65-35. We were at 60-40. That was something that the town had been talking about probably for almost as long as I've been here. They had made the step years ago from 55 to 60, and then they were supposed to then look again at to 65%, and that never happened. So what that increase happened last year. The reason for looking at that again this year is recruitment and retention of employees is a serious issue. Even at 65%, that is not competitive with neighboring communities and our comparison communities. We are one of the lowest. We aren't the lowest, but most communities are in the 70 to 75% range. So that was the reason for moving forward with the increase. The Board of Selectmen did support that increase at their meeting on Monday night. And then Robin can speak to more on that if you need more information, but that's basically what's going on.
Can they hear us now? I mean, I see people in attendance.
You should be all set now.
Let me see.
I can hear you and see you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great, thanks, Robin.
All right, our technical difficulties are,
Okay.
So,
I can see you and hear you too. Can you hear me?
I'm not so sure we can hear them.
So, there we are. Robin, can you hear, Robin Grimm, can you hear us? We can't hear,
you.
we can't hear you.
no.
No. All right, well, Robin's figuring out her
I can't
issues.
hear her.
Maybe we can go to Robin's, well, actually, yeah, can we just go, Robin C?
Okay.
You can hear us?
So, as everyone knows, Robin C., as we're going to go with, is the facilities director, so she would deal with facilities and all the building budgets. So, here's your chance to hit the hold for all the,
On the insurance thing, just to split, a couple years back, and before I was here, I guess we gave a big bump to all the departments. I'm talking 20% increases in pay based on not being competitive, right? Wasn't something like that happen a few years back,
There was a compensation study that was done.
right?
Some employees, when the compensation study was completed, were outside of the low range. And so those people received a bump, an
Be
increase.
competitive with some
Yeah, but it
industry.
wasn't, people weren't receiving, like, one person didn't receive like a $20,000 increase. It was various people, it was a lot of the hourly staff that were paid outside of the range that was, so, I
We
don't
tried to make
know.
them whole versus other communities pay-wise, right? That was the plan, I guess, right?
Well, that was that was one of the goals of that compensation plan, to make sure that we were being competitive and paying our employees competitively.
So if we're still having problems with recruiting and everything, and I don't think it's just because of totally insurance, I think sometimes you gotta look at management, or do we have a management program for people that can manage people? Because my experience is, whether industry you're in or whatever you
I wish we could
do,
hear Robin right now, but there is a very serious issue statewide in municipal government as far as being able, people are not going into municipal. We are competing with private sector salaries. We have to look at not just, competition with private sector, but we also have to look at competition with each other. So if you have two equal positions pay-wise, and the town next door is paying 70 or 75% worth of, for health insurance, and we're paying 65 right now, and last year it was 60, that's a very big difference. Health insurance is very expensive.
Yeah.
And so, I can tell you from personal experience, last year when I was trying to recruit 3 different employees, the health insurance was one of the number one reasons why people kept declining the positions. It wasn't that I was not trying to offer positions, I offered many people positions, and when they did the total benefit package, they couldn't make it work. So that's something that Robin Grimm is trying to, correct for us, so that we don't continually lose people to other communities. But this is every single, whether it's finance, whether it's police, whether it's fire, whether it's DPW, there's a serious issue, again, not just in Sturbridge, for people wanting to go into municipal government. I can add this, that it is recognized at the state level. The Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services has funding for a fellowship program they are doing with the community colleges to try to get people to recognize that working in municipal government is a good thing and has a lot of benefits. I actually was just reached out to as part of membership of one of my, the associations that I belong to, and I'm actually going to be in June with another treasure collector from North Attleboro. I'm going to be teaching 2 days to these students to let them know about what it's like, what it is to be a municipal treasurer collector and finance director. So the state's doing a lot of different things to, to promote municipal
I would imagine one of the
service.
biggest promotions is a pension, right, versus a
It is,
401K, you would think, but young people don't stay around anyway, so maybe it doesn't make any difference, I don't know.
Problem is that, you know, people aren't looking at what the future is going to give you. You know, the world is a lot different. I think that was a big selling point years ago. I know when I went into municipal government, that was something that, you know, people were looking for stability. People, and I've said this to other people, but, you know, when I started in municipal government, I was in my 20s. It was who can find you a job in municipal government? How do you get in?
Yeah.
And now, literally, that's not the way it is anymore. People are, you know, there's more money to be had elsewhere, and people are not looking at the pension down the road because people are jumping. You know, it's me sitting here is not the norm anymore, you know, to stay in a position for as long as I have and as long as some of other people that are in the same age category. It's now people, they jump. So like I said, it's a different world, and hopefully Robin can figure out her issues on her end so that she can talk about this a little bit more. I think she's gone now,
My
but
area as well, that new recruits, whether they're young, you're just starting out in a career, or you know, been around for a while, you always got to talk about, it's a total compensation package. Look at your paycheck on Friday, look at your variable, your at-risk pay, the bonus piece, look at your benefit package, including the 401K or retirement, and look at all the pieces in the end. But a lot of folks are, you know, how big is my paycheck going to be that I can spend this week, and not looking for the long-term piece. So.
I can be creative, so I know Harvard, just because I know some people work there, and if you stay there for a period of time, they will actually pay for your student loan. And I think it's a period, and I know people that are staying there because in 2 or 3 years, their loan is going to be paid off. You know, you have to do the math on that one, because it could be steep, right?
So, but where are we trying to go with this? I understand that this,
Right. So I brought this up, so I just want to make sure that was a significant issue for the year. I just wanted to make sure we had the discussion on, so I'm all set with that. We'll see where it is. I assume you've budgeted this like you've done in the past. You've assumed a certain number of employees, whether that they enroll and we need that money or not. But that was a significant change that had a financial impact. So
Yeah.
I'm all set. I no longer need to pull that one.
To the chair?
yes, we can hear you.
Can
I can hear you, but.
Can you hear me now?
Don't talk through the
So
sound.
thank you, and I thanks. I have been listening in, and I appreciate the discussion on it. I don't know if Barbara did touch on this when I was playing with my sound here, trying to get in. The healthcare, we did do comparables on those healthcare numbers, and Barbara, I don't know if you addressed this, and we did it for surrounding towns, and outside of one town, we were lower. So surroundings are doing 75-25, 70-30, some are doing 80-20. And that was another part of the thought process for competing, where we do have people interested in going into municipal government. So thank you.
This is not a new discussion.
yeah.
What's that?
We've been talking about this subject for several years, competitiveness with the benefit package.
Okay, so you're good with, anyone else with an unclassified question? All right, so I'm going to check that one off, that we're past that.
So can we go to Robin C. so that she doesn't have to hang out all night and then
Okay,
maybe go
so
to
back to the
Ann?
buildings too, right? Yes.
So again, I don't need to go into individual departments. I assume that those have whatever the maintenance needs are for the coming fiscal year for each one of those. I just want to understand, are there any looming big issues that are going to come at us down the road that we should be aware of? And 8 Brookfield Road, again, is there some traction on, what we're going to do next, or is it still just kind of sitting there and aging yet one more year?
So, Robin, you don't have to talk about 8 Brookfield Road. Robin Grimm will talk about that, but if you can just answer the other question in general on the buildings.
In general on the buildings, I think we're doing really good. I've been here for 5 years this summer, and we're just catching up. I feel like I'm starting to do more reactive maintenance than less reactive, more proactive maintenance. Our oil consumption is down. Our energy numbers are really good at buildings. I do have one capital project in for center office, but finishing up the library with its big project last year, I think took care of some of the big maintenance needs outside of really large capital projects.
Larry?
As a reminder for some, there is the matter of the status of certain buildings at the DPW. A few Saturdays ago, we had a very, I think we all agreed, very informative tour from the DPW director, and likewise the water department. And that cannot go on forever. One of the buildings is pushing forever. It's the only building I've run into that's actually older than me. And I use Roman numerals to give my age. So that, to get to your point, Mike, I think is moving out of the wings to center stage.
I think those are in the warrant articles, though. There's
Yes.
some articles to address
Yes.
that.
I understood it was an umbrella question, so.
Yeah.
Well, I'm good. Oh, 8 Brookfield Road.
So,
All right, so yeah, 8 Brookfield Road, Robin, what's the plans?
Okay, Robin
Yes,
just, she has
so 8
capital.
Brookfield Road presents a few challenges. First of all, what I did find out and had not realized is we do not own all the property around it. A portion of that, there's a discussion over how much of it the state still owns, was it transferred back? So we have to get clear answers on exactly how much parking we really would have over there to determine if it's something we want to repurpose so we don't, or do we want to work with the state and get that land deeded back to us. So that's my next step on that. And then we really have to take a look at whether we raise the building or not. Before I came, the town had put it out to bid. The money that we would have gotten offered for it, wouldn't have been worth selling it. I'm not sure it would have even met the assessed value of the corner property there. So we have to first figure out exactly what we have there, because outside of what's directly along the side of the building, as I'm understanding it, the rest belongs to the state. There may have been talk about transferring back. I think, Robin, you and I chatted about this a little bit. But we need to get clear direction on that.
Mike, are you good with the?
I remember a few years ago that concern was expressed, excuse me, putting that in private hands, and then we'd lose access to that corner between Main Street and Route 148, 20 and 148, and the difficulty we may have if we had to get large fire apparatus around that corner if someone took that piece of property and built on it. I think that came from
That was
somebody in the fire
discussed,
department. I also remember or recollect that there's drainage or a stream or something going under that parcel, where some type of culvert was there, and there was water passing under that from the 148 side onto the Route 20 side. I could be incorrect on that, but I seem to recall
Robin
that.
C., you know the answer to that?
Yeah, I don't know exactly where it is, but there is a large stormwater drain that does run through the property there. There's a grate next to the building that you can hear the raging river sounds when, on a day like today, I'm sure.
I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, but I can remember that.
If there's a way to repurpose or get value out of the property, we should go back and rethink the issue about the fire apparatus, right? Because if somebody builds on that one, you're making a right-hand turn, you're gonna make a right-hand, there's 4 turns at that intersection one way or the other. So the issue is, can you keep the truck on the road, or are you gonna drive through the center of the property? Well, I think we can get around the corner one way or the other over there. But, you know, as long as we continue to look at ways of, you know, instead of just leave the building there and let it continue to deteriorate in that corner of town, try to find a way to put it to use, whether it's used by the town or used by a third party.
So I am looking at applying for a one-stop grant. They're doing some grants on repurposing buildings and reuse of properties. And I sat in on a seminar with Ann Goby on that a couple weeks back, and it is one of the things on our radar to see if we can get some money for a best use type study.
Okay. All right, anything else related to the buildings before we move on? We need Robin still here, but we gotta go, all right. So can we move the hold on the buildings, Mike? You
Yes.
go with that? Okay, excellent. All right, so, well, Robin's still here, and we can try and run out. She has a series of items in the capital improvement plan, so I just want to note for the record that the name of the file we're using for the annual town meeting warrant is 2024 ATM warrant, version 1, 2024-0204. That's because I did it backwards. It should be 0402, but that's the name of it.
That's your file name versus, we'll have to figure that out. But
No, that's the one I sent to every one of you. That's the one we're working from. That's the ones you guys should have. So this particular article spans page 12 and page 13. And on page 13, the last 5 items there, boiler room insulation, townwide energy projects, public safety complex shower replacement, window shades, and snow guards, Robin can talk to if you have questions. Right, I mean, we're only trying to bring the departments in heads once to handle all the items they're responsible for. So we took care of a line item budget stuff. This is in the annual town meeting warrant articles. These are the 5 things that Robin is also responsible for.
What page is that again? I'm like, so there's a whole litany of, I think that was a,
It's on page 13 of that file I sent to you. So if you print it off, the article starts on page 12, goes on to page 13, and her items are actually the last 5 listed on page 13.
you know, there was a process to come out with, you know, of all the things that are needed in the capital plan, how do I want to prioritize them for this year? Those are all relatively small dollar items in there. You know, when we get to some of the larger, you know, replacing entire fleets of vehicles, we can have a different discussion. Those 5 in particular, just allow the process to carry out, and if they're needed this year and they were prioritized for this year versus other things, I'm okay with that.
well, my question on some of this stuff is when you look at free cash, okay? And if you look at what it says, it's non-recurring items. They don't want it out of the operations budget. If I look at, you know, there's townwide energy projects, is that a I don't know, are any of those non-recurring?
Well, no, so, do you want me to take a shot at Robin? Because I'm on the capital planning committee, and
Yep.
she was there and
Sure.
explained it to me. This is almost like the fund that the town administrator has to help with when they get grants. So if they apply for grants, she can match the town's portion of those grants and go forward with them. That's part of what this money is intended for. If you want to.
Why it's coming out of, why would it come out of free cash though? That's what my take is. Some of these, this non-recurring items, I guess if it's a study, one-time study, then fine, but
No, so they're not studies, they're actual projects, and that we have a match, we're
Right.
responsible for a match, but Robin can explain to you what project she's looking at.
Yeah, so this actually is all related to the original energy audit that we had when we became a Green Communities designated community in 2018, and that was led by Jean Boubon.
Page 13.
So we have been, over the last several years, doing
page 13
a
of
series
the
of
warrant,
projects
here.
throughout all the town buildings, and getting up to the $200,000 per year from Green Communities without match. We've actually done all the really good projects that have been basically free to us for utility rebates and Green Communities funds. Unfortunately, what that did is it left the projects that aren't as high scoring in their matrix to the end. Those projects are the town hall building management or building controls for the HVAC system, center office controls, and the last phase 4 lighting for the Burgess Elementary School. We've had to do that in 4 different phases. This will finish and convert all the lights in Burgess to LED. And then I'm also looking at the nursery school decarbonization, going from an oil furnace to potentially electric heating and cooling. That's a possible project. And also maybe some LED lighting at the wastewater treatment plant. Those are the items that we have left that may require some match. And it's going to be a formula. It's going to go to the Board of Selectmen when we apply to the grant. And there's going to be a little bit of back and forth. Each year the grant changes their priorities. So we will have to match their priority for the year.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions related to those items in that budget, in that warrant article? I mean, the big tickets are fire in DPW, so. All right. So if we're good with Robin, we don't need Robin C. here.
Thank you,
anymore.
Robin. Sorry for the technical difficulties.
Thank you.
No problem.
So if
Thank you all. Have a good night.
you too. If we could go to
Bye-bye.
Ann for the one more article, and then she can
Right.
leave.
And she can go too.
Yeah.
So Ann is our town assessor, well,
Principal assessor.
sir. And we've already gone through the Board of Assessors line item budget thing, and we were fine with that. But she's also here, it's item J under the town meeting warrant for the senior exemption. I'm just trying to find out what it actually is. It's Article 26. The title happens to be on page 16, but the meat of it happens to be on page 26, page 17. So, I mean, I guess what we're doing is increasing an exemption from $500 to $1,000. And so what allows someone to qualify for this?
Okay, well, currently, it's called, the exemption is under Mass General Laws, Chapter 59, Section 5. It's 41C. There are minimum income and, or maximum income and maximum asset amounts that they have to qualify with. Those amounts are adjusted every year by cost of living. Right now, we have 10 seniors for, I would say the past 5 years, we've had about the same 10 seniors that qualify for this exemption. We're not asking to change the asset or income or asset amount, just the actual amount of the exemption.
So does this work as like essentially $1,000 off their property tax bill type of thing?
Yes, yes. Right now, they currently get $500 off their property tax bill, which we get reimbursed by the state for. We're just looking to, we have the ability through state law, through town meeting, to change that amount up to $1,000.
And this isn't in any way related to the one where your seniors can work off an exemption too? This is completely separate?
Nope, this is a separate, this is a state exemption. Yeah.
Okay. So this is solely income-based?
Age too, I think.
So the income and asset base, yeah. Right now, the current income amount, let me just grab that, hold on.
So we give,
Right now, on the current income amount, if they are single, they cannot earn more than $30,956, and if they're married, they cannot earn more than $37,392. And their total net worth, which does not include their house or their automobiles, but if they owned a second home, it would include that value. That cannot exceed $54,500 if they're single, and $57,824 if they're married. So that's why we only have about 10 people that qualify, because the limits are very low. It really is for those seniors that are struggling, and that's why we felt that at this time, that income amount has not been changed in since the time they voted it in. So it's probably been 20 years since they've increased that amount. And the board just felt that this was the time to do it.
Okay.
So, Barbara, 10 times, let's assume whether today it's $500. So 10 people qualify, we give $5,000 worth of reductions in income taxes. But you carry that as a revenue from the state, and we up this to $1,000, you would increase your revenue forecast from the state.
No, so there's no match beyond the $500. So if we increase it, that additional 5 is on the town of Sturbridge. Correct, Ann?
Yes, that's correct.
Yeah.
Is this different than I saw something, circuit breaker tax program? Is that part of this?
No, that's a
Or
separate.
is that a separate, that's a separate one?
Yeah, the circuit breaker tax program is through their state income tax return.
State Department of Revenue.
The town has nothing to do with the circuit breaker tax credit.
Okay. Okay.
So actually then, if we were to adopt this, where would we budget the $5,000?
That would be in the overlay that we
Overlay?
budget for every year, yes.
Did you budget for it for next year in the anticipation that this would be approved?
So we have adequate funds in the overlay, so the law changed in the past several years where the overlay balance carries over from year to year for all years, and so we budget like $130,000 a year, I believe it is, for overlay, and that fund carries over, so if we don't use it all, it carries into the next year, so yes, there's adequate funds. We did not have to increase the overlay balance, though, that we're budgeting for.
I don't have any issue with the article. They're going to end up paying for the senior center. It's going to be a big hit anyway, and hopefully they got enough money for gas to get over here and use the new facility.
So I hear Mike making a motion to approve the article as written.
Well, let's get to that one when we deal with the capital articles, but
No, the senior exemption, that's an article all by itself. That's
you
Article
want to take
26.
motions on that then? Okay, I didn't read the whole thing.
It's literally just, she read it to you.
Just want to make sure it's in a form where to approve as written, to recommend approve as written is acceptable. So I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
Larry seconds, great.
It's Article what again?
It is Article 26 in this version of the warrant. That's why I wanted to make sure the record reflected the file name we're using. So, any further questions or comments? First and second, go ahead, Larry.
I don't think it should escape anybody's notice that at $500 for the last 20 years, that $500 has been eroded to the point where the next 500 is going to be equal to less than 500.
Inflation, yep. Where's this document found, by the way? Where's the article of this? Where's it found? And I can go online in Sturbridge and find out this town of Sturbridge tax assistance? Because I have a document in front of me and it has circuit breaker, town of Sturbridge tax relief for seniors, and it has circuit breaker tax program, 65 years and older, if you pay 10% more. I must have an old document here. I just researched it online. I tried to go into the system to find out, but it must be an old one because it has Sturbridge, Mass. It says letterhead on it. Doesn't seem like a date on it that I can see. But it's tax relief for Sturbridge seniors, and the first one is, for certain persons 65 years of old, if the property tax exceeds 10% of annual income, they get a rebate of some sort. And there's a whole litany of things, but I don't know, I just
So
know,
if you file your Massachusetts taxes, you use your tax program to tell you.
I don't know where I got it from, pulled out somewhere, because I wanted to see what that document looked like, but,
Yeah, it's on the Massachusetts
Yeah,
income
on our,
tax, the circuit breaker.
yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Ian, please.
on the website, we have a paper that's called Financial Assistance Summary. And I have listed everything that is available through the town, all the different exemptions, the senior tax work-off program, the elderly disabled fund. And at the very end of that, we also have written out what tax abatements, how they can file for a tax abatement, veteran services, which just advising them that they could contact the veteran agent to get any veteran services. And the last one does say circuit breaker tax credit. And it just says available to certain seniors age 65 and older. You may be able to claim a credit on your state income taxes for the real estate taxes paid on your Massachusetts residence. We put that in the paperwork just to make people aware of that there is a circuit breaker tax credit, but it's not something through the town. They have to apply on their state income tax return for their real estate taxes. So it was just sort of an informational note on the end of that financial assistance summary to let them know all the programs that are available through the town and other programs that may be available, like the veteran services and the circuit breaker tax credit. Just trying to get the information out there to them, but it's not something that the town gives them. It's not a circuit breaker tax credit through the town. It's through their state income tax form.
Got it.
Okay?
Okay.
I don't think you voted yet.
Wait, hang on. So, everyone's good with that one? Okay. So, I have an article a motion to approve the articles written from Mike, seconded by Larry. All those in favor? Opposed and abstaining, 7-0-1.
Thanks, Ann.
All right, wait, no, I want,
Oh.
one question that was asked, if you wouldn't mind just also addressing Article 25 about the revaluation and interim adjustments, and just remind the committee what the purpose is.
Okay, so every year we have what they call interim year adjustments, and then every 5 years we have the full revaluation year. This current year, we're in a full revaluation year. That is when the Department of Revenue comes out to the town. They get a little bit more involved in setting of the values. They do a lot of the reviews of the sales by going out in the field. They review the land values and all of that. So we have 2 vendors that help us with that revaluation year. So every year we have the vendors that comes in, this is what that fund is going to pay for. So the vendors, we have Bishop and Associates is our real estate vendor. They help set the real estate values, and the real estate research LLC is our personal property vendor. They're the ones that go out to all the businesses in town and list the personal properties for us.
Okay. Any other questions relating to Article 25 while Ann's here? All right, so then can I get a motion to approve Article 25 as written?
I'll make
So
a
moved.
motion.
All right, second, go ahead, Jim.
Okay.
So who were those? Who's first?
Larry,
Well,
Jim made the motion then and Larry seconded.
Yeah.
They kind of came together there.
Morrison.
All right. Any other questions or comments related to this article?
That's Article 25?
Article 25 in this particular version. All right. Hearing nothing. All those in favor? Opposed and abstaining, 7-0-1. Great. Now I think we're done, Ann.
No,
Thank
you're
you
not a
very,
lame duck yet.
Thanks, Ann.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. All right, so let's work our way back here. So I'm just going to check off that we did the revaluation and we did the senior exemption. Okay. So we had questions on a hold on the town administrator line item budget. Now that she can hear us and we can hear her, and we'll get some
Again, just a
answers.
quick summary as to what's going on with the position across the street, and with it coming back to part-time, I know you increased another position to a supervisory position with that one. What's the impact to that position from any changes that are taking place?
Yep, so the part-time, the full-time position that was put in last year, we hired 2 people. Both people left. Both people, well, actually, one person left very quickly. She had some health issues, and then she just didn't come back. The other person stayed a bit, and what we did determine was there was not as much activity in the building, reception-type activity, as I had believed, and that person indicated in her exit interview that she just felt that it didn't need to be a full-time job. So in looking at that, what I did was we figured the type of work that was being done, the departments that were accessing and using that person, and they were, that for 15 hours a week, we could suffice and get the services that we need for the departments that really did need the help and were utilizing it, and be able to do it for lesser money. It doesn't impact the supervisory position of the executive, the assistant to me, my executive assistant. She still supervises that position, as well as the fact that if you recall, when that position was changed, it also included making her director of a constituent liaison director. So she still would supervise that position. She also still coordinates any help we need with senior volunteers. She works with Leslie on that, so there's no impact to her position. She still would be responsible for hiring that part-timer, overseeing them, working with them on scheduling.
Any other follow-up questions on this budget? So, not hearing anything, am I good? Do we move that hold?
My only concern, yes, my only concern is, we're going to vote on a position, yet we haven't gotten a direction from the Board of Selectmen that they've supported that change, right? Or have they gone along with making the change and supporting it as proposed here?
Well, I haven't had a chance to present my budget to them, so they are aware that I am moving it from a full-time to a part-time. I have indicated that in a meeting to them.
That's an issue for, I guess, us. We're just okay with the budget, go ahead with it, assuming people want it, or,
All right,
let people come up with this is what they want to run for the town, and then we find a way to
We'll hold
finance
that
it.
particular item, and we'll deal with it again next Thursday. I'll move it from one thing to the other. So that'll stay held. So the other hold I have is economic development. That's still outstanding. And that's really a question of, can you give us an idea of what this guy's actually doing? Or the person in this position?
Sure. Terry coordinates with statewide economic development groups like the Discover Central Massachusetts. He brought them in not that long ago and introduced me to them. We are now partnering with them on some advertising work. He just sent out the letter for our ARPA sign grant, and we'll work with all the local businesses on doing a match sign grant program that he's designed. He has started sending out the one-stop letters to new and
Could you
incoming
just
businesses.
describe what you mean by match sign
he
grant?
does. What was that?
What do you mean by match sign grant?
So ARPA, there is the ARPA committee and the board voted to set aside about $35,000 to do matching grants for local businesses that want to upgrade their signs up to, I think it's $1,500 or $2,000 per business that we would match, first come, first served. They have to fit the protocols and requirements of the sign, of the sign ordinances and the design review restrictions. But it's a matching sign grant to help everybody upgrade and keep their signs looking nice, beautification for the town. So that had been an ARPA request from a couple years back, about a year and a half ago. And so we put together a plan, looked at Terry's done some research on what other communities have done with similar types of matching grants. And we're rolling that out. I think he press released that this week or maybe last week or next week. I know we talked about it last week. So that's the sign grant program. As I mentioned, the one-stop. He serves as the liaison for SEC, and he's the staff liaison for STA.
Sturbridge Tourist Association. What is SEC?
Special Events
Sorry.
Committee.
A special events committee.
So a lot of that sounds, other than sounds tourist related, bring people into town. What about the economic development side? That's the other half of that position. We're supposed to go out and attract more businesses, help existing businesses, bring economic development to town, not just, people in seats and beds and so forth.
Right, so that's exactly excuse me, what the sign grant program is about, is helping local businesses. That's what the One Stop program is, to help people coming in, businesses coming in, it guides them. We started collecting a database of local rental and space available, so people, if they want to know where there might be space available, Terry is beginning to gather a database for that. As far as recruiting, you know, we do your best to reach out and you network, and we don't control the private sector. We have a lot of people say, well, you know, why haven't we put something in XYZ building? We can put our feelers out there, but, you know, we can't make people come. He does do a lot of, I said, outreach through, like, you know, Discover Central Massachusetts. Yes, that's a tourist organization, but with that comes economic development, because as you market your town, other businesses see what you have to offer. And it opens the door for them to want to come in.
Okay, with that, you want to hold it?
I understand the position, so I'm okay releasing the hold. I guess I'll have a process question when we get the votes.
Okay. So, looking at the line item budget, the only item that's going to carry over to next week is the town administrator, and it can keep,
And historical.
oh yeah, and historical, because it's buried in a bunch of check marks. Thank you for pointing that out. So, I'm going to move them over here.
So I guess here's my process question. We had talked about somebody making a motion, probably to the effect of, recommending, Board of Selectmen budget of X dollars, and run down
We did that
lines with the
already.
dollars.
Yeah. We did that at the beginning of the meeting, and when I asked you for the holds, So anything that wasn't held is already, we're all set with.
No, you didn't vote, then you
We
decided.
didn't vote.
You haven't had a mo,
Yeah, we didn't vote, we didn't make the
you
motion yet.
didn't make a motion, so I assume you're gonna make a motion to, so, and assume, the one motion, you're gonna have 12, 14, 15, whatever the numbers, departments in there,
Yep.
with a single vote.
Yes.
Now, how are you gonna handle this if, you get 8-0 votes for 12 of them, but some people wanna vote against one? We should probably come up with, if someone's going to vote against a particular, want to abstain or vote against a particular line item, hold that one out of the motion, and then come back and make a separate motion for the other ones.
Okay.
Otherwise,
That's
it's gonna
what
be
the
difficult
holds
to
were
record.
for, that's, but okay, I can see where you're going.
All right, well, then let's put a hold on economic development.
All right, no problems, we'll just carry it forward, no big
No, I
deal.
don't need to carry it forward.
Then he's gonna release the hold, then you take a second vote.
Oh,
Assume you're
okay,
gonna
and then you
make a
make a motion
motion
on
for 14 line items, it's gonna go 8-0 or 7-0-1,
One, yeah.
right? And then there'll be one where I'll say, well, okay, someone should make a motion to approve that, and the vote may have a negative vote to it.
That's fine, I'm okay with that, all right. So what I have then right now are 3 items that are outside the motion. Item B for the town administrator, item K for the economic development, and double A for the historical commission. Otherwise, everything else would be voted at the numbers we had discussed in this one motion, just like the town hall, and now we'll, town meeting, and we'll just deal with all of that. And then we'll go back. I know the town administrator is gonna slide to next week. Historical commission's gonna slide to next week. We can take a separate motion completely on economic development if you want to this evening. So am I as clear as mud? Okay. All right then. So I'd take a motion to accept the
So,
budget.
so here's, going back to the standard motions, here's what we would typically say, is the
Okay.
motion would be to recommend that town meeting approve, and we would put department name and, budget of X dollars.
Yeah, we can do that for all of
To
these. We'll just list
approve
them.
the, following line item budgets. And then we can list Board of Selectmen
Yeah,
and
all
X
of that.
dollars, right?
Yep,
Okay.
exactly.
That's motion 1, all right.
Yep. Okay, so do I have someone to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Kathy seconds.
Kathy Neal.
All right.
Do we want to read the dollars here, or just, we all know what it is, and I'll make sure Alyssa and I get it right in the minutes, out of the book?
Well, I had read them at the beginning, only went through them all,
Okay.
right? Yeah, I took the FinCom recommended number out of the blue tab section called the FinCom handbook.
Income dollars. Okay, I'm good with that.
All right, so on to the vote for just everything except Town Administrator, Economic Development, and Historical Commission. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstaining? Mike?
Oh, I'm sorry, we voted for it.
Oh, okay, so 7-0 to 1. All right,
So Kevin, that was through item EE, correct?
yes, to item EE.
Okay.
Yep. The only ones that are outstanding, like I said, are BK and AA.
You know, if someone wants to make a motion, everyone else is ready for economic development, they want to make a motion for it, they don't need any other information, someone can make a motion for it.
Actually, I'd like to carry it for 1 week, so for this time being, so I'm going to hold that one too. Okay. All right, so let's move on to the annual town meeting warrant articles. Article 1 is the town reports. I already got my book and took it home, but you saw the books are downstairs for you to review and look at.
Oh, yeah, come on.
So, I mean,
I didn't print it out, but I've been looking at the electronic one.
okay, so Article 1, town reports, you know, can I get a motion to approve Article 1 as written?
So moved.
Okay, I just need to put notes over here. Article 1, that is Mike Hager. Do I have a second? Mike McGlone. Any further questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed and abstaining, 7-0 to 1. All right, so the next one we have is the Public Access Department. So the Public Access Department, the people who, you know, broadcast all of our meetings and get stuff onto wherever, and I'm trying to find out the article that is on here.
16, page 9.
Thank you. So, you know, typical salaries and wages, the longevity bonus, benefits, and operating expenses for the Public Access Department. And that comes from the funds we get from, is it Charter, Spectrum, whatever they're called now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what it is.
All right, Jim Waddick makes a motion to accept Article 16 as written, and Mike McGlone seconds. Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? All right, you're kind of in the middle there again, Mike, are you for?
I'm for it.
Okay. Opposed to 0?
He has to vote
Oh,
for
that's true. Abstain?
Does he have a problem lifting his arm, or is Jim blocking your sight of his arm?
I just kind of went like this.
Here and here.
7-0 to 1. Okay, great. Next one we're dealing with is the Sturbridge Tourist Association. And Mike, if you want to wait with that, I mean, that is the other half of the economic development.
I don't have a problem with the Tourist Association budget.
Okay.
That's a separate from, you know, the position that we have on our end.
Okay. So that,
Chairman, if I could just point out, though, for clarification, half the salary of that economic development position is in STA. So I
Right.
just want to be clear on that.
Yep. And that economic development position, half of that time is supposed to be spent supporting the Tourist Association, because they pay for half of it, and the other half is the economic development.
Everything else.
And what value do we get from that?
Economic
other half?
development, special events committee, all of those other things, yes.
yeah. Okay, so Article 17, I have anyone willing to make a motion to approve it as written?
I'll make the motion.
Jim? Do I have a second? Kathy? Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? There we go, I saw it that time. 7-0 to 1. All right, so, ambulance stabilization fund. Keep rolling down because they got to be in order.
Article 20.
Did it move on me? Where is it? What number is that?
Article 20.
20? Thank you.
It's almost there. Okay, we have one more.
Part of the reasons why I'm doing this by title instead of article numbers, as you're all aware, is because the article numbers could change, but the title generally stays the same no matter what the numbers become.
Raise and appropriate as well.
That's why I'm having a little difficulty finding them so fast. So this is our normal, let's put some money aside to when we want to purchase an ambulance. One of the things that did come out of the, I'm going to mention it here, but it came in, it was a big point of discussion in the capital planning committee meetings, is the fact that it's taking so long between placing an order for a piece of equipment and actually receiving that piece of equipment. So, I mean, I think if you read the capital planning section of the budget package here, we talk about trying to come up with a policy and the plan in place so that we account for this 18-month to 2-year lapse between, you know, so we're not in dire need of it, but that we plan ahead for the replacement. So that was a lot of discussion because people were talking about how to place an order for a cruiser, and he's not gonna see it for another 12 months, and it's already 6 months later or 8 months later since he placed it. And I'm trying to remember, the fire department had something similar, and I think the DPW had a piece of equipment too that was 2 years out before she'll even see it.
Well, that one that they wanted to repair, they talked about getting one new, and you couldn't get one anyway.
Right. But I just,
He mentioned the truck that they had ordered, or were going to order. It's 2 years, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, that was a big point of discussion, trying to incorporate this delay into the cycle of capital replacement. So that, you know, usually, historically, we've replaced an ambulance every 7 years. So maybe now we do the same schedule, but we might need to move it ahead 2 years the first time so that we know we're gonna get it in year 7 and not in year 9.
And at the same time, you're not, I don't think, we had one issue where they didn't lock in the pricing either. In other words, it was moving price. I forget what one of the issues came up then when they went out for bids, and they said they couldn't go out for bids for some reason, which is not true. But having said that, when you place an order for an ambulance today, is that price locked in if you get it 2 years later?
You're signing a contract for it, so yeah, that price would be locked in.
Should be, okay.
Isn't it that some of that money too that comes in to the town from insurance companies as part of that stabilization fund?
No, so the money we get from the insurance companies goes into the general fund, that's a local receipt.
Okay.
But this money that we're putting aside, the goal is to, by the time we're ready to replace the ambulance, that there's adequate funds in the ambulance stabilization. There won't be. We need to look at increasing that number. Right now, we're concentrating on trying to get our reserves back up to pre-COVID numbers. This budget does that with the exception of the roads, but we still have adequate funds in the Chapter 90 account, so I'm not as concerned about that. But once I think next year, what we'll have to do is definitely for the ambulance is increase that 60,000 to a bigger number, because it's been that way for a while, and every year we seem to be about $200,000 short, and then we take the balance, whatever we're short, from free cash.
The $60,000, I didn't bring last year's book. How is that relative to what we've been putting in each year?
It's equal now. So like I said, everything now is back to the pre-COVID numbers except for the roads.
And we usually read the comment box, you should probably work that into another line to make sure the comments kind of line up, but this one says, the next ambulance replacement is scheduled for FY '25. This is an FY '25 budget. Did I miss the ambulance in here? Or we're going to use the $1.4 million fire truck for the...
No, the $1.4 million, that's the rescue truck.
The text box didn't get updated, I guess.
It was a rescue. I think they're talking about a ladder too at some point.
No, it's a rescue truck.
No, now, but
So
it's
we
not now.
typically have said whatever the cycle, there's 2 ambulances, right? So we rotate those out, and I thought
We
gave
actually have 3
Yeah,
ambulances.
this was Yeah, you can fill them in, because I was surprised to learn this. But we have 3 ambulances, 2 of which are considered frontline. And then the third one
Right.
shows up at special events like football games and things like that.
Or is it used as a spare if
So-
one of the frontline ambulances is out of service? Yeah.
Right.
Sorry,
But
Robin.
it is a different than what we've always been told over the years, because usually we had 2 ambulances and then we went to mutual aid, but now we're maintaining a 3rd ambulance.
It's been it's been at least 2
But
years.
but to be clear, that ambulance isn't a functioning, it's not counted as an operational ambulance from the standpoint of response. It's literally an entity, it is not a staffed ambulance. So I don't want to imply that we have 3 staffed ambulances.
Yeah, but we're
We do not. We have
maintaining
2
it like it's a
staffed
frontline ambulance. We're putting all the same equipment
It
into
has to be. It has to be. If we're going to have it anywhere, if we're going to sit it at a football game, it has to have all of that acceptable equipment. It can't be maintained at any lower of a standard.
So someone's not going to come back and say, the 3rd ambulance, which is the spare, needs to be replaced, give us $300,000 for a new ambulance, right?
That's a good
It's the
question.
one that worked its way out, and we said, well, we could sell it or scrap it, or let's just kind of keep it around for static football games and other things that we need, because it still functions, but its resale value is nothing. So it's when, those frontline ambulances going to get replaced, but it's still operational, and we would kind of move that one down the line and move this one on, right?
Correct.
So is the idea then going forward that we're always going to maintain a fleet of 3? We're going to have 2 what we consider frontline and this one that'll be in reserve? Is that where we're headed?
I have to be honest, I don't see why we wouldn't. I prefer to have a backup. As long as we don't require to staff it, as long as we're not implying to the labor unions that we're going to staff that ambulance fully or to the public. But to have an ambulance ready to go when one goes down is pretty important, because if we don't, then we are going to rely heavily on mutual aid, and that impacts response time.
Okay. Just want to make sure that's understood.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So we'll clean up the box so we have a clearer picture as to when the next cycle is for the ambulances, right?
Yeah, there's still a few issues that
Yeah, Jim has a few too.
I probably caught them already, but you can give them to me, yeah. I'm on version 3 of cleanup. Every time you look at it, you find something else, so.
All right,
That's the
so,
way it is.
I know, but you can give them to me.
okay, so can I have a motion then on Article 20?
So moved.
So move Mike
I'll second.
Hager and Mike McGlone. Approve as written. Any other questions, comments, concerns? All those in favor? Opposed and abstaining. 7-0 to 1. All right, so next one on my list, Capital Stabilization Fund. It's Article 21, the next one in the list. That's putting in $209,000 into the Capital Stabilization Fund.
Yeah, this one, how much do we have in there? $1,500,000.
Okay. You want, I mean, at this point in time, we've been funding this particular stabilization fund, but we have not expended anything from it. Correct?
Correct.
So what is the long-term plan for its use?
Well, eventually we'll start using it, but this will put 1.4 million in, so, I mean,
You could buy a new rescue vehicle with it. You could buy an ambulance. There's a lot of items in the capital plan. You
Well,
want to
that's-
use free cash to pay for that, or you want to take some money out of the
Well,
stabilization?
that's what I want to know,
fund?
what they mean by capital here. Go ahead, Robin, you gonna say something? Because you have a fire
Yeah, if I could just
operations
jump in,
thing.
so capital covers a broad range, as you know. It's not just a vehicle, a long-term vehicle, it could be any number of things.
Right.
Right now, we are sitting well with free cash, so we've opted to do a lot of things with free cash, as opposed to dip into this. Also, if we have something unexpected and we were tight on free cash, we have this stabilization fund. Will we eventually spend it? We certainly might. We're not going to have free cash like we have now forever.
Right. Okay.
So while we have the latitude to build this up a little, it makes sense.
Yes, absolutely.
So 209,000, that seems like an odd number. Why not 200, why not 210, why 200?
Our financial policies say it's 0.5% of our operating budget from the previous year.
So you say in free cash, they'll say it's usually used for an emergency. So some of these other things, you're saying everything, rather than using this, everything we use in free cash is an emergency? Because that's what the policy says.
No. Free cash, we can use this in an emergency if we did not have enough free cash. Free cash we use for our
emergencies.
normal capital purchases rather than borrow.
For the
But we can
policy.
use it for emergencies as well.
Well, the policy says free cash for emergencies. Over above it, and it's, so.
There's a wide range of uses for free cash.
I just think we're convoluting free cash sometimes in some of these other budgets. We're building this up when we're looking at some capital expenditures. Why don't we just take it where it should be taken out of? And not just, why are we just taking it out of the free cash?
So-
We'll keep building this up. Why not take it out of here?
Because you're just building the fund right now, like I think as Robin was heading, we have a surplus, I wouldn't say surplus, but we have a large enough free cash days that will allow us to fund this and not have to expend it. So in the future, when our free cash is not as high as it is right now, we have the reserves built up to handle something.
Usually you build free cash for emergencies.
No.
No,
That's
that's,
well, it didn't change the policy. Once again, I have it in front of me. It says for emergencies.
No. Free cash has got a tons of uses that.
And we're not funding the stabilization funds from free cash. We're raising
Raising
it
it
appropriate.
appropriate in this case, yeah. This is part of your.
Well, I'm saying, when I read the policy for free cash, and I've read it numerous times, I have it in front of me, it just looks like we're using it where in fact it could be used, other resources, other sources we have could be used rather than free cash.
That's true, yeah, that statement is true. But in this case, it's more prudent to actually, for the other warrant articles, to use free cash. But in this, and as Mike points out, this article has nothing to do with free cash. This is a raise and appropriate article to put $209,000 into this fund for future use.
Let's put a policy, it says the free cash will be used in emergencies, in reserves to tap in emergency, and provide cash for banking payrolls in case we have a
So Ken,
catastrophic event.
We've been
Is
going
this a
over this for
catastrophic
like the
event?
last 3 years.
Right,
We all know the policy needs to be rewritten.
right.
It is out of date, completely out of, it doesn't match up to how we've been using our funds.
Like exactly.
And we've been after it to change it for a long time. The Board of Selectmen have not had the inkling or the inclination to meet with us to discuss doing it or even taking it up. They give it some lip service and then it just goes down the road. I mean, I know we were supposed to have a meeting last fall with the town administrator and the Board of Selectmen to talk about some of these larger policy discussions.
And if we take them to task, maybe we'll meet with us if we force the issue. My point
Mr.
being is,
Chairman, point of order. We're not on the agenda where we belong.
That's true. All right, so back to capital stabilization. This is raise and appropriate.
I'll make a motion to approve as written.
Thank you, Mike.
I'll second that.
Get it, Mike Hager, Jim Waddick. Approve as written. All right, any further questions? All those in favor? Opposed? And abstain. So 6-1-1.
6-1, Ken, 1,
And Lee.
hang on,
Okay,
here's the other part of free cash to use.
so fire vehicle stabilization fund. That's Article 22. Same thing, raise and appropriate 100,000. I mean, we're only gonna go to 238 there.
I'll make a motion to approve as written. Yeah, it's
Okay.
Article, you said 22?
22, yes.
I'll second that, but I had a discussion question.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
It's going to bring it doesn't specifically say here, and I don't know that it should, when we may expect to need that money for the fire vehicle. Is there a horizon for when we may need to make that purchase, Barbara?
Well, we're purchasing,
It mentioned it in the ambulance, it said, we expect to buy it in a certain fiscal year.
that was last year's, for fiscal, yeah.
But there's nothing here, and I just
Yeah, that was
curious
actually,
if we
should
have
have
a
been pulled out of that
duplicate.
box.
So let's go, that's a general question, back to the comments. So are they all clear, or do they kind of reflect where we are today? Sounds like Barbara, and we
Yeah.
need to kind of go through
Is
those
there an
and figure out
expected
where they
life?
are.
What is it, and when does it happen?
And I think we've tried to do that.
Again, if you
like-
go to your if you go to the capital plan,
Oh, okay. And I didn't, so.
which so the 5-year capital plan starts on page F10. And so if you go to,
There's actually a list of the replacements. It starts at the bottom of F10 and goes to the top of F11.
right, so the next vehicle, so the ambulance will be replaced in 2026. And then in 2027, there's going to be a $2 million tower to replace Tower 1. And obviously, you can see we will not have, I'm sorry, did I say 200? 2 million. I'm not sure what I said at this point. Did I say 200?
No, you said
Oh,
2
I said 2 million, okay. So obviously, we will not have anywhere near $2 million in this account.
But we'll have free cash.
Maybe. We don't know. We're spending down quite a bit of it. Who knows if we're gonna have excess, revenues and turnbacks and whatever in the next fiscal year.
Right.
Exactly.
But anyway, this document that I'm referring to is very helpful if you look by department to see what their future needs are.
Yeah, and Jim, along with your question, one may ask, why are we spending $1.4 million for a new rescue truck when we've got $200,000 in the stabilization, or, something less than that? So why don't we take money out of stabilization fund and use less free cash this year, and then leave some free cash for down the road?
That's the same conversation we have with free cash versus Chapter 90 money for the repair of Cooper Road.
No?
So I guess
Which we said, let's not use free cash, let's
If you
use the
always-
stabilization fund or the other restricted funds.
if you always want to have the philosophy that you're going to exhaust a stabilization fund, put it to zero, and then offset by free cash, that's not my philosophy. My philosophy is the opposite.
I agree
The
with
other
you.
thing with all these stabilization funds, they're all invested, and so the interest that is earned on those funds stays with the funds and then can be used down the road. Free
that's the wise way to
free
handle it.
cash is, money on hand that we did not use, it's just part of the general fund, and that money does not accrue for a specific purpose. So, I think that we are very lucky that we have had the foresight to establish so many different stabilization funds to try to put money away. But yes, we could have said, oh, that $1.4 million truck, let's take 238 out of, or it's less than that, because that's going to be the balance when we put money in. So, let's take whatever's in there now and then take the difference. I just think that's counterintuitive.
We got enough free cash that we can use. Whether we need to buy every truck that's in the plan or not will be a discussion for another meeting.
Different discussion,
But
right.
It's a good source of funds to pay these big expenditures this year, still keep money in the bank for what may come down the road next year. Yep.
I mean, if you think of, I know is it in here? No, it's not. Well,
It's
So-
also a hedge. It's a hedge against interest risk later. We know what we know, we don't know what we need to know, because it's in the future. So this is actually a prudent, very conservative stance. And it does not go unnoticed by S&P when they award a AA plus stable bond rating. It's exactly these ingredients that they note in their analysis.
and the interest rates are moving in the right
To
direction.
Mr. Morrison's point, if I could also add, the reality is, as Barbara pointed out, these are an interest. Free cash doesn't. Right now, I mean, the interest rates are beginning to come down and normalize a little bit, but while interest rates are up, we're earning interest on the stabilization money. We're buying things out of free cash as opposed to borrowing and paying high interest. So Barbara has really managed to you know, as Ms. Morrison put it, hedge with the interest numbers to the benefit of the town.
You're earning interest on the free cash that's sitting in the bank, right?
Yeah, it doesn't get set aside, it's part of the general fund.
Yes.
And you know, there are 3,
So that's a revenue stream you got forecasted, and it may be higher or lower depending on what you actually earn on it, but it kind of builds back in there, even though it's not technically in your general fund just yet to tap.
there are 3 town administrators of other communities, 2 of whom used to be the town administrator here, and all 3 live here. They don't live elsewhere. They know Barbara's philosophy. They think they can live anywhere. Some of them commute a lot in order to live here. It's an endorsement of the way it's being done by people who really know.
I think it's a great place to live too, but it has nothing to do with what we're talking about financing here.
What makes it great? The finances.
No, the trails, the people, the coziness, that's what.
All right.
Nothing
yeah.
cozier than money when you're cold.
Well, I don't agree with that.
All right, I hit this, but, all right, so we were up to Article 22, we have a first and a second, so ready for a vote. All those in favor? All those opposed and abstaining? 7-0 to 1. All right, so just working, OPEB, you know, OPEB's our continuing obligation to people like Barbara when she's retired. So, I'm just kind of curious where we're at now, 1,728,000.
What OPEB stands for.
So, we're making progress.
Progress.
Yeah. So, Article 23, do I have a motion?
I gotta think, I don't know how this is gonna work, but if I did the math on this, we put 100,000 a year based on how much the 13.5 million versus, it's gonna take us 118 years to
another 90
catch up.
years.
I mean, is this realistic or am I missing something?
No, that's what
Consistent with
it
the rest of the towns in Massachusetts.
It's not just us, I'm sure, but I'm just saying, so how does this all work out?
Every community is looking for some plan to make it all go away. I don't think we're all
Exactly.
gonna end up having to pay for it. There's gonna be some.
All right, so I have a first, I need a second though for one.
Yeah, me, fine. Yep, who's the
Oh,
first?
Mike, okay. Jim Waddick is the first. All right, any further questions on OPEB?
Yeah, they're looking
Well,
for a
what I'm
bailout.
gonna say, is part of free cash, okay, 'cause my favorite subject here, right?
Is raise and
Is to
appropriate.
put it into a pension fund to offset some of this pension, which was gonna take us 118 years to catch up.
Yep.
So does anybody think about taking some of that and actually putting it into the pension fund?
No, because, well, my opinion is no, because right now there's nothing that says that we have to fund it.
Right.
Okay, so we are, our financial policy says we will fund a minimum of $50,000 a year. We've been at $100,000 for several years now. My opinion, I will not be here to see it, but when we have our retirement plan fully funded, so this is not the pension, this is other post-employment benefits, this is health insurance costs for retirees. Our retirement plan is Worcester Regional Retirement, which is under the unclassified budget. That has a full funding, that has to be fully funded in 2030 something, I don't know the exact year. My opinion is that what towns should do is once we meet the full funding obligation of the retirement system, we should then take those funds that are going towards that and shift them and start funding OPEB. And then you'll have adequate funds to be able to do something. It doesn't necessarily have to be the whole amount of money. That'll be a policy decision, who, all the people sitting around the table at that point. But right now, rating agencies just want to see that you are doing the reports every other year,
Yeah.
getting, establishing what your unfunded liability is, and making some attempt to recognize it, and we do that with $100,000. So my opinion is that we are doing fine with that. And then down the road, we can look at other things. I have another thought that I want to talk with Robin about, but we know that the financial policies need to be looked at. They will be looked at. Hopefully, they will be resolved before the end of this fiscal year. And we can establish some different policies on some different things.
I'm just like, quite interesting. Where do they come up with the number of 13 million and we got like 2 and?
We have to provide information on all our employees who are eligible for health insurance benefits.
When they retire.
No, just now. So
Now.
anybody who's hired now that's eligible for health insurance benefits, and then they do an actuarial formula based on the age of people, male versus female, life expectancy, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not an actuary, so, but we did just do that. This number is just updated. We just got the report, it was probably last month.
But on a real life, day-to-day basis, cash flow wise, we're paying for all the benefits, so
Yes,
that's
we
not
pay-
even an issue then.
We pay as you go.
Pay-go, right?
Yep.
So, okay.
Yep, so we're meeting all our obligations, yep.
So this is just a formula that
It's a
they're looking to
number.
look and say a certain percent has to be put set aside to this
It's
or
a
that.
number that several years ago, there was some change in GASB number, some number, I'm not sure which number, that said towns needed to start booking what that number was as a liability on their books, and that's what we do.
What is the unfunded liability?
5?
Million.
13.5 million, yeah.
The 70-30 change to the healthcare splits, does that apply to retirees also, or are they?
So no, we have a post-65 program, so once you hit 65, you're forced into our Medicare, or the supplement for Medicare Parts A and B, and retirees, it's 50/50. So the only retirees that would have a partial effect on this number is if you retire earlier than 65, because you would have to stay in the active plan. So there'll be a slight number, but once you hit 65, you go into that other plan, and so that reduces the liability. We actually saw a decrease in our liability this year on the report because we had implemented that post-65 program after our last full report. Because prior to that, we were not pushing people into Medicare Part A and B, because some people are not eligible, so we did this whole different program with that.
So I'm an active employee for 25 years, 70-30 split, I retire at 65 next year, or retire and when I hit 65, I go to that 50/50
Yep,
plan.
and if you
I don't
retire,
carry-
yep, and if you retire at 60,
You-
while you're
you
in the
take- you're
active
still in the
plan,
active thing, yep.
you're still, only the town's paying 50%, even though you're in an active plan. As soon as you retire, it drops to a 50/50 split, active only for 65/35 right now.
Beyond A and B, of course, your only exposure if you take basic Medicare is Part B premium. Do we fund anything over and above the A and B in terms of a supplement?
The
Retirees.
50/50 split is for the supplemental insurance that they take through us.
Supplemental, that's in addition to the Part B?
Yes, because your Part B covers 80%
Okay.
of your costs. If you don't have a supplement, you're always responsible for 20.
Okay, again, I
Yeah,
understand.
yeah.
Okay. So,
That's not inexpensive.
It's much less expensive than the insurance for
Sure
active
is, I
employees,
know.
yes, yeah, yep.
all right, so OPEB, I have a first and a second to approve the articles written. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed and abstaining, 7-0 to 1. All right, so next one is Article 30, sewer project debt betterments. That's on page 19.
No, I have it at home.
I was
Just dropped it on my
gonna-
desk.
No, you can choose, please.
So this is just, what it says, paying off sewer debt.
And that's where we have a
So these
typo.
are-
Excuse me, that's where there's a typo. In the written language, it says 150, and in the numbers, it says 125, 100. So that should say 125,
No, it doesn't.
150.
It says 125, 100 in mine.
He's doing it.
Yeah, but up here it says,
It says
150.
Oh, I see.
Written part.
so which is it?
Oh, it's 125, 150.
Right. There was a
I'll make that
couple like
correction, thank you.
It's no big deal, it's,
So it's 125,
I
right?
don't know what the, I don't,
All right, so
actually,
we'll
no,
hold
you
off
know
on
what, I
this.
do, no, I do know. I brought everything with
Oh,
me.
okay.
Hold on.
150 or 125? Didn't know-
no, it's either
125, it's
150 or 100.
125, 100.
Okay, so up here it should say 125, 100, not 150.
Right, yeah. 125,100.
100, yeah.
I'll make a motion that we approve the article as written, meaning
Correction.
125, 100.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't worry about the correction. I'm gonna
Got
fix
that.
it.
So it's Article 30.
Okay, I'll second that.
So Mike and Jim Waddick, Mike Hager. Waddick, approved as written. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor? Opposed? Kathy? Are you in favor? I didn't see your hand,
Oh,
I'm
yeah,
sorry. Okay, 7-0 to 1.
They're blocking you.
Oh, maybe, that could be it.
I should sit on the end like they do, then I would have that whole angle where.
Maybe right there,
You
right
sit right over there.
Yeah, right there.
You can throw things too.
That's actually what I do at meetings purposely for that reason.
Oh, really?
Because you can see everybody. Mhm.
Ah, that's a good idea.
Good idea.
All right, so there is one more on the agenda, and that's the capital improvement plan. That's the one with all the big numbers, and I forget what article number that is.
Well, we only did that so that Robin could
Oh,
speak.
Robin could talk, that's
Yeah.
right.
So that will
we'll
be on
wait
it
for the
every
rest of it.
week. Yeah.
That's right, sorry, I should have put that just for
So
facilities.
just looking at, there's a lot of vehicles in there, right? There's a lot of money being spent, so I realize we got a lot of free cash and it's an appropriate use for it, whatever, but on the other hand, you know, if we had one less vehicle and try to get through with, funding some and add one for next year, or save a little bit, is there something that can come off there just to save a little bit of money for who knows what could happen next year?
I think part of the factor into that one, when we were meeting too, is the long delay in getting these things.
Yeah.
You know, in some of these equipment are already 10-plus years old with a lot of use and hours on them. So it's like, you know, we looked at it, we saw that we had, you know, there's a free balance that allows us to get some of this stuff and trying to get that place in line to get this equipment. And then I think someone made an interesting point, and I know it wasn't me, but they talked about there's the $1.4 million rescue truck. So if we decided we were gonna borrow for that at just 4.5%, 5% interest rates, that would have cost us $70,000 that paid for one of the pickup trucks.
Yeah.
That's also in that thing, so it's like, you know, so having that allows us some flexibility to get some other capital things that would have otherwise just gone off to pay a bank so we could borrow their money.
There.
But that's, a lot of that discussion went in there.
It feels like a very unusually large expenditure for capital versus what we've done in the past, and there's a lot of
Well,
vehicles.
I
So
think
it's
the
gonna
big,
require-
number is that
discussion,
fire truck.
understanding. Yeah.
At 1.4, because typically that probably would have gone out for borrowing.
Oh, it would have, absolutely.
Yeah, but we are fortunate enough, knock on wood, that we didn't have to. And, you know, that, I forget when he said that truck is. It's a
Is that the one that
2000
had the bad engine, we just replaced the engine on, and now, or?
This is I had to ask exactly what the point of this truck is, because I see how it's more or less their mobile tool shed. So every tool they need for like extraction, whether, you know, jaws of life and stuff like this, they take this thing to where there's fire accidents, or if they have to rescue someone, you know, with the scuba stuff and all that stuff. This truck carries all their equipment that can't be on the normal vehicles. That's
And you're
kind of
talking
its
about the
function.
heavy rescue.
Yeah, the big fire, they call it Fire Rescue One, yeah.
Be like a heavy rescue, so if you had to cut the doors off, get the doors open that were all
weren't
Jaws
able
of
to
life.
open. They have-
Jaws of life's in there, the diamond saws, all that type of stuff is
Yeah,
carried in
everything fell
that.
in there.
Yeah.
I got one question. We had a reserve fund transfer for an engine that kind of blew up.
That was a DPW truck.
Yep. Mhm. That was
That was
a
DPW.
loader, yeah.
There was a fire truck that had an engine issue a while back.
That was,
Recently?
We also had a
that was a year or
TPW
two
truck.
ago.
Okay, because you know, and the nice part is, she made sure to tell me, we had that DPW truck back like in 2 weeks, after we did the reserve fund. It came back into service in like 2 weeks.
I mean, I think it will be helpful next week when both Chief Grasso and Heather are here, and they can speak directly to the vehicle issues.
Yes. Okay, so, going into next, I mean, there's no special town meeting warrants, we don't have any meeting minutes. The new business
I
is
did
where,
send out the ones from the 21st to everyone, right?
did you send it tonight?
I sent them a couple days ago.
I didn't see it. I am having problems with my
I'll
emails,
resend
but I
them.
didn't see them, yeah,
I'll
please.
go back and double check.
Okay. So this new business section here is where I'm looking for topics we want to, like Larry pointed out, we kind of got off track there for a little bit, where we want to move something and have a discussion so that I can get it documented for the public to know we're going to take up a certain issue. And that's what this new business topic is for. And part of it is, if you saw the meeting notice for next Tuesday night, I left it very amorphous so we could have discussions with both Barbara and Robin, plus the Board of Selectmen, about all of the issues we'd be discussing that evening. So hopefully we can get something useful from that.
That'd be smart.
So, is there anything anyone wants me to add to next week's agenda? Because we already know we're moving the Town Administrator, Economic Development, and Historical Commission added back into the line item budget section for the April 11th meeting. And based on my schedule too, my idea is to post the meeting agenda. You saw the rough outline, but the actual posting that'll be official, I'll do on Mondays. So if we have this meeting, I can adjust as I need to adjust, like we're going to do, and then I can give it for posting on Monday in order to qualify for Thursday night.
You did see the request from the town clerk to do it in a certain fashion, right?
I did, I corrected that, and now I know how to do it going forward.
I don't want you to miss a posting because you didn't follow an instruction.
No, they're usually pretty prompt at getting back to me saying, could you do this? And I'm like, okay, sorry, you're done.
So again, that item is, if there are things that people want to discuss, so we should toss them on here, so.
Toss them on here now, like, if you want something for next week, put it out now, I can put it on the agenda, or we can wait, we can do it as part of Tuesday night's meeting, because that one's kind of an open discussion meeting. But it won't be on the warrant for Thursday night, because it'll already have been posted, it'll have to wait a week. All right, anything else, anybody? Because one of the things we did, if you read the judgment, we got questioned about was having new business and old business on our warrants, because they're technically questionable, so.
Unless you actually put something under them listing what that business is, I believe that's liable.
Correct, yes. So if you had something outstanding that you talked about last time that you wanted to talk about again, that would go under old business?
So you could list it as old business.
Tonight's new business that we didn't finish carries over to old
Yes,
business to
then you
next
could
week.
put that under old business.
So I could move the town administrator.
No, you move those into the budget items.
Okay.
Right, because that's what we're going to talk about.
Yes, that's where I'd like to have this discussion, yeah.
I think
It,
new
you know,
business
we're
is
in, we're in a
little
brave new
harder
world
to
here
do
for me,
now.
because, for 20-some odd years, I did it one way. And now it's like I gotta spell out and cross every I and dot every T,
Well, you covered yourself this morning.
All right,
Oh, yeah.
so then I've got nothing else. I will entertain a motion to adjourn since it's a business.
Make a motion.
Mike, do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, look, she's counting that one, 8-0
voting that one?
at 9:02.